Lincoln frowned, scooting his chair closer in case if she were to cry. He spotted her eyes becoming very wet. Now the boy wrapped an arm around her. Ronnie Ann stared at her food what seemed like hours, the music of the games and TV occupying the void. The tomboy took a deep breath, steeling her nerves. I tried to get the teachers involved since the fight went on school grounds was forbidden, but they didn't seem to do anything. I would have told my parents, but I doubt they help. So, Ronaldo leaned back in the chair. One day when they were doing usual teasing, the moment one of them smacked me at the back of my head, that's just when I went ballistic. Lincoln bit his lower lip, getting a picture of the vivid picture in his head. Was it similar to what I did to Chandler? I guess. I honestly couldn't tell you, Lincoln. Ronaldo looked towards him. My blood felt like it's been on fire. My face was probably extremely red. I swore I lost sight for a bit. The only thing I was certain about was that I was so angry at them for all those things getting to me. Like I lashed out. She put a hand to her head. I had no idea what was going on or what I was doing. My body was just acting like its own. Like I was just lost in the moment, you know? When I finally did and I realized what was happening, both girls were on the floor covered in bruises with some teeth missing. And more importantly, they were knocked out. Not only half the school saw it, and it was recorded. Lincoln winced, sucking air through his teeth. You got suspended for that, right? I remember hearing about that fight from a classmate a while back. Ronaldo nodded. My parents were very angry at me until I told them why I did it. The parent of one of the girls who was part of the school board wanted me expelled, but since the word got out of the constant bully they were doing, they threatened to fire her. The other girl was pretty much scolded and basically told she got what she deserved. Still, I wasn't allowed to be at school for a few days, but when I came back, the Hispanic girl gave a faint smile. Everyone was treating me with respect or fear. Most just didn't want anything to do that would make me angry, and it'd be a lie if I said it didn't go in my head. Lincoln snorted a little. It sure did. So I'm guessing you changed your hairstyle, clothes, and started living up to the name? Ronnie Ann's smile grew a little. Yeah, it just felt good not being pushed around for once. Although, her smile faltered as she gazed at her meal. I guess I get too little carried away, seeing that I ended up becoming a bully to you. Lincoln frowned. Ronaldo, I've already forgiven you for that, for what you said to yourself. You didn't know any better, or any way to show your feelings, so you just did with it and knew what was best at the time. Excuse me, are you two still eating? The waitress asked as she came by. Yeah, we're still working on it, Lincoln replied. Once the server walked away. And I know what happened when you started fighting. As Lisa may say, you blacked out because you went blind with rage. I guess that's why you can't remember that fight. Mm-hmm. Ronaldo scooped up what was left of her salad and started chewing on it. You know. Oh, now you know. It's also why it's easy for me to get your problem out when you showed up in my house that first fight night. Push somebody's buttons repeatedly, and you'll end up picking your teeth off the floor. Then everyone else will eventually find out and get to know that you're not to get on your bad side. Yeah, Lincoln scooted back to his dinner, eating up what was left in spite of the lukewarm. Now, with your reputation, I kinda expected the worst from you. Like constantly stuffing my pants with food and pranking me was fun. Ronaldo pierced her lips a little, her body sulking in a slight guilt. Of course I would make you think that. But I learned to grow to get a better side of you, a much sweeter side, Lincoln replied, earning a smile from his girlfriend. So you wouldn't mind if I pantsed you every time once in a while? The Hispanic girl joked. Depends on whatever we're in public, Lincoln snorted. Ha ha, okay, my turn to ask a deep question. Ronaldo started, to which Lincoln raised a brow. Given how bad you and Lynn fought before, has it ever crossed your mind that you wanted to do that to one of your other sisters in the past? Lincoln sat there with his food in his mouth, mulling over a response. He swallowed the meal before leaning back in his chair. Truth be told, and regrettably, it has, but not to that level. He sat his fork down and stared at the empty plate. I fight with my sisters a lot, and usually it ends to a small scuffle. Sure, we'll bruise each other here and there with some scratches at best. At worst, it's a black eye. But there have been times where Lori's constant bossiness just made me want to teach her a lesson about always trying to walk over her own siblings. Luann's constant pranks make me want to break her nose sometimes, and on that one April Fool's Day when he came over, I had a half mind to so while she was laughing at me. Lincoln let out a laugh. But then you pied her in the face, and as for Lola, I wouldn't necessarily hurt her, but I think a wedgie would be enough to given how she acts sometimes. Lincoln began to count off his fingers. I wanted to smash Luna's spat AMPs on one more than occasion because of the noise. Sometimes I feel as if I wind up accidentally hurting Lucy if she keeps sneaking up on me. With Lisa, I also feel an instance of giving her a wedgie because she keeps trying to steal my organs. Ronnie Ann gave a wary look. Trust me, she says it's for science. She already removed my appendix. Lastly, I have fought to give Lana a good talking to as why certain bugs shouldn't be in the house, seeing that she brought bed bugs in once. As for Lenny, Lincoln paused, tapping a foot in front of the leg chair. I couldn't exactly hurt her because, well, she hasn't hurt to me because to cause harm, but that doesn't mean she doesn't look things through. I left Lily out for obvious reasons, and Lynn, the white-haired boy, gave a sigh. We both know what happened to her. You wouldn't actually do all this stuff, right? Ronaldo asked. Lincoln shook his head. I may have thoughts, but I wouldn't actually do that to them. I loved my sisters, though, where I wish I could ignore the spite. Plus, they all do some crazy stuff to me. Lincoln stared off at the crowds in the Monster Games. It's a bad feeling that since I learned to forgive most of my family at this point. Does that include Lynn? He couldn't say. While Lincoln was edging words towards his forgiveness to his sporty sister due to how apologetic he was, he probably was going to go out more than before the whole cheater debacle started. He wasn't sure on where they stood in their relationship. After all that's happened, so the loud boy was certain that the dynamic would never be the same. Perhaps he could try and talk with Lynn about it the next time they meet, if they ever could. Seeing Lincoln lost in his thoughts, Ronaldo decided to change the subtopic. The tomboy reached across the table, laid her hand on top of his. You don't have to answer that if you don't want to. And speaking of which, you think you got that room for dessert? Ronaldo gave a small nod. Yeah, I got a room. The kids flagged down their server and ordered the infamous brookie. When it got to the table, they stared at the treat, mouths agape. Due to how the size of it, it was definitely as big as the picture had made it seem. Lincoln gave a small chortle. Well, that's definitely not going down in one sitting. Ronnie Ann grinned before grabbing one of the spoons. That's why we agreed to share it, Linky Poo. Now, are we gonna pay? You sure you could pay for all this? I mean, I know you saved up your money, but this isn't so much breaking your bank. To be honest, Nene, it's worth it. Lincoln smiled warmly at Ronaldo, who returned the gesture as her cheeks became a faint pink.